Have you ever wondered what happens when life ends? What if everything we think we know about death is just an illusion? In this video, we will explore the ancient teachings of Tibetan masters, revealing how understanding death can liberate your consciousness and transform the way you live. Imagine living without fear, with clarity and courage to face every challenge. Are you ready to discover the secrets that could forever change your perception of life and death? Before moving on to the next part of this video, I would like to invite you to make a decision that is essential for our journey together. If you found this content valuable, consider subscribing to the channel, sharing this video with friends or family members who might also benefit from this information, and leaving a comment below with your experiences or reality check questions. Your interaction is crucial in helping us continue to explore topics that change perceptions and lives. Throughout human history, the mystery of death has been one of the most fear-laden and speculative themes. Imagine for a moment everything you think you know about death. What if all of this were a lie? What if instead of being an absolute end, death were just one of the greatest illusions perpetuated by the structures that govern our society? Religions, governments, and educational systems have a common interest: control. Since ancient times, rulers have understood that the fear of death is one of the most effective tools for domination. This fear generates dependency, anxiety, and a profound sense of powerlessness. Now consider, what would your life be like if you were not afraid of death? And what if, instead of viewing it as a dark enemy, you saw it as a transition, as natural as sleeping and waking up? Over the centuries, sacred texts like the Tibetan Book of the Dead have been kept secret, reserved for initiates. Why? Because they reveal something that would dismantle the entire system. Death is not the end. It is a portal, a door to dimensions of existence that transcend everything we know. The Tibetan masters did not view death with terror. They regarded it as an art, a science that can be understood and even mastered. Consider this for a moment. How would your life be different if you were not afraid of death? It is not about seeking an end, but understanding how this vision shapes every decision, every relationship, and even the dreams we dare or do not dare to pursue. Death, as we understand it, has been used as a tool of limitation. What if we could transform it into a key to freedom? In our modern society, the view of death is bleak. It is perceived as the erasure of everything, an inevitable darkness that haunts every moment of our lives. But for Tibetans, death is a journey. Imagine that each day of your life is a training for the greatest journey you will ever take. Instead of fearing it, you prepare for it. And in this preparation, you find the courage to live fully. Have you ever experienced moments where you felt something greater, something inexplicable? Perhaps during a deep meditation, a walk in nature, or even in the silence of a starry night. These moments are not coincidences. They are invitations to look beyond what we see as reality. And if the fear of death were just a veil, hiding a much greater truth, a truth that could completely change the way you live. Think about it. What would you do if you knew you could not fail? That life is not a one-time event, but part of an infinite cycle. This is the promise of the hidden knowledge in the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And that is why it has been so feared, suppressed, and kept out of reach. Now ask yourself this question. Are you ready to question everything you have been taught? Are you ready to face the greatest fear of all? If so, this journey is yours. It won't be easy, but it will be liberating. If death is not an end, what happens when we leave the physical body? This fundamental question has guided Tibetan masters for centuries. They discovered something extraordinary. Consciousness is not limited to the body. It is infinite. It transcends time and space, and when the body collapses, it expands into dimensions beyond human understanding. Think about how modern science explains energy. It is never lost. It only transforms. What if human consciousness worked in the same way? Since the dawn of time, cultures around the world have reported near-death experiences, where individuals claim to have seen a bright light, heard reassuring voices, or felt indescribable peace. For Tibetan masters, these accounts are not mere illusions. They are clear indications that life does not stop with the last heartbeat. Imagine a river flowing. When it reaches a waterfall, it falls into the void, but it does not disappear. It continues, transformed in another form. Death is like that waterfall, a point of transition, not a final destination. What is fascinating is that we can prepare for this moment. The teachings of the Tibetan Book of the Dead reveal that at the moment the physical body collapses, consciousness meets the clear light. An explosion of pure energy, a moment of absolute clarity that transcends everything we know. This is truth in its rawest form, a gateway to complete liberation. But here's the challenge. Most of us are not ready to recognize it. Burdened by our fears, regrets, and attachments, we are unable to grasp that moment, and we return to the cycle of birth and death. Reflect. How would your life be if you started right now to train your mind for that moment? And if the practice of meditation and detachment went beyond the pursuit of inner peace, becoming an essential preparation for that critical moment that will define your journey beyond this existence? Tibetan masters taught that the human mind is like a mirror. What you project onto it during life is reflected in what you will encounter after death. A restless mind, burdened with desires and regrets, will see chaos and darkness. But a serene and aware mind will meet the clear light, the gateway to higher dimensions. Even modern science is beginning to validate these concepts. Neurobiology has shown that in its final moments, the brain releases intense electrical activity, which many associate with near-death experiences. For Tibetans, this burst of energy represents a meeting with the infinite. Now think about your life. How often do you cling to what is ephemeral? How often does fear prevent you from moving forward? If all this is preparation for what comes next, what are you doing today to prepare for it? Every thought, every choice, every act of detachment is an opportunity to prepare your consciousness for something greater. Just as an athlete tirelessly trains for a marathon, you can train your mind for this ultimate journey. For ultimately, consciousness is not a prisoner of the body. It is an explorer of the infinite. What will you do with this truth? Are you ready to expand your perception and transform not only your view of death but also of life? Understanding that consciousness exceeds the limits of the body brings us to an essential question. How do we prepare to navigate these transitions? In Tibetan teachings, these transitions are called bardos. Although associated with death, bardos also manifest in life, representing moments of change, challenges, and decisions that shape our existence. Think about your own life. How many times have you faced situations requiring courage or detachment? Perhaps you lost something or someone precious, or went through a time when stepping out of your comfort zone was necessary. These experiences are the bardos of life, echoes of deeper processes that will unfold after death. They are not mere coincidences, they are opportunities for growth and inner transformation. Tibetan masters regard bardos as gateways. Each transition, whether minor or major, is a chance to move closer to spiritual clarity. Imagine, for instance, a moment when you had to make a difficult decision, such as changing careers, ending a relationship, or starting a new uncertain phase. These moments, often accompanied by fear and uncertainty, contain unimaginable potential for transformation. After death, bardos manifest in different stages of the experience of consciousness. The first is the bardo of clear light, that moment of pure truth and illumination. If we are ready, we can recognize it and free ourselves from the cycle of rebirths. But for most, the journey continues to the bardo of visions, where the mind projects powerful images, buried fears, repressed desires, and aspects of ourselves we have avoided confronting. Take a moment to reflect. What would it be like to see your greatest fears take shape before you? What would they tell you? According to Tibetan teachings, these visions are not external to us. They are mirrors of our own mind. Recognizing that they are projections is the first step to overcoming them. Confronting them with clarity and courage is essential, both in life and in death. In life, these bardos manifest in a similar way. Think of something that paralyzes you right now, perhaps the fear of failure, of change, or of losing something important. Every time you overcome these fears and face the unknown, you are preparing for the ultimate bardos. You are training your mind to discern what is real and what is illusion. Tibetan masters teach that life is constant training for these transitions. When you forgive someone who has hurt you, when you let go of what no longer serves you, or when you confront a difficult situation with courage, you are practicing the bardos. These acts bring you closer to freedom and help transform not only life, but also death. Ask yourself, what do you still hold on to that could be let go? What attachments or fears prevent your growth? Every small action, every moment of courage, every conscious choice is a step toward clarity and liberation. The bardos teach us that transitions are not enemies, but teachers. They challenge us to see beyond appearances and to understand our true nature. Experiencing them with presence and intention allows us to access a freedom that is not reserved for the end of life, but can be experienced here and now. Over the centuries, Tibetan masters dedicated their existence to unraveling the mysteries of life and death transitions. For them, death was not an event to be feared, but a science to be explored and mastered. They believed that understanding the nature of the bardos allowed one to transcend the cycle of rebirths and achieve ultimate freedom. Imagine yourself on an isolated mountain, surrounded by the majestic silence of the Himalayas. It is in this setting that many masters spent decades, immersed in deep meditations and rigorous practices. But this quest was not purely contemplative. They pursued a precise mission to map the mysteries of consciousness and find ways to master the processes the mind goes through during and after death. Tibetan masters describe the mind as a vast ocean where waves symbolize our thoughts, emotions, and desires. Throughout our life, we are so distracted by these waves that we forget the calm and clear depths below. But at death, this plunge becomes inevitable. That is why Tibetan masters prepared intensely, confronting their own fears, attachments, and illusions. One of the most fascinating tools they used was meditation on the bardos. Through altered states of consciousness, they simulated the conditions of death, exploring the dimensions they expected to face. These practices led to extraordinary accounts, visions of pure light, encounters with peaceful or wrathful deities, and landscapes that reflected the deep states of their minds. Reflect for a moment. If you could explore the depths of your own mind, what would you find? What ignored fears and desires would surface? For the masters, these visions are not distant symbols, but parts of ourselves, waiting to be recognized and integrated. In your own life, whenever you face a fear, a difficult situation, or a moment of loss, you traverse a bardo. These moments, although daunting, are opportunities for transformation. By facing them, you train your mind to discern truth from illusion, an essential skill for navigating the bardos after death. Tibetan masters taught that seeing beyond the projections of the mind is the key to freedom. Fleeing from these visions keeps a person trapped in the cycle of rebirth, while confronting them allows transcendence. This lesson, although primarily about the bardos of death, equally applies to daily life. Every moment you choose to face what frightens you strengthens your clarity and courage. These masters also remind us that the way we live deeply influences our experience of death. A life marked by fear and attachment leads to a troubled consciousness, while a life guided by serenity and presence prepares the mind to embrace clear light. Take a moment to reflect. How are you preparing your mind today? Are you facing your fears, cultivating detachment and awareness? Every moment of presence is a training opportunity, a step towards freedom. The teachings of Tibetan masters show that life and death are not opposed, but interconnected. Understanding this truth allows us to live with more courage and clarity, knowing that every conscious choice brings us closer to true liberation. If Tibetan masters teach us that life is a preparation for death, then every action, every thought, and every decision we make daily carries a significance far greater than it appears. According to them, these choices shape what they call karma, not as a system of reward or punishment, but as an energetic reflection of our intentions and actions in the world. And contrary to what one might think, karma is not fixed. It evolves constantly according to our free will. Imagine your life as a vast garden. Every thought, every action, every intention is a seed that you plant there. Some seeds sprout quickly, while others take years, even lifetimes, to bloom. The type of garden you cultivate entirely depends on the seeds you choose to sow. So ask yourself, what seeds are you planting today? Are they nourished by fear, anger, or attachment, or by compassion, love, and clarity? Tibetan masters viewed karma as a creative energy. Every thought and action not only influences our path after death, but also determines the quality of our experience in the present moment. Free will, according to them, is a powerful tool that allows us to actively shape our destiny. What you choose to think, feel, and do in this very moment is not trivial. It is an act of creation. Reflect on a difficult situation you have recently experienced. How did you react? Did you let fear or anger guide you? Or did you choose a more conscious response, imbued with patience and compassion? These moments, which often seem insignificant, are actually the most powerful. They constitute crossroads where we shape our karma and redefine our future. In the Tibetan Book of the Dead, it is explained that in the bardo of visions, our mind projects not only our fears and desires, but also the reflection of the karma accumulated throughout our lives. The choices we make during our existence become the foundations upon which our ability to navigate these transitions rests. For example, a mind burdened by regrets and resentments will encounter troubling visions, while a mind cultivated in love and clarity will see opportunities for liberation. The Tibetan teachings provide practical tools to align our karma with our highest intentions. Awareness of each moment is a central element. By paying attention to our thoughts and daily actions, we begin to plant seeds of clarity and serenity. Another essential practice is meditation on impermanence, which helps us recognize that everything, from material objects to emotions, is transient. This process allows us to let go of what is ephemeral and to act with a purer intention. Now reflect, what decisions are you making today that will influence your future? And if you could change the energy you create in this moment, what would you choose to think or do differently? These questions are not mere philosophical exercises. They are invitations to take control of your karma and consequently your destiny. Tibetan masters also taught that by choosing love, compassion, and wisdom, we not only transform our lives, but also raise the vibration of our consciousness. This prepares us for death, but also for a more meaningful existence. Imagine waking up each day with the certainty that every thought and action aligns with the best in you. Ask yourself, what would your life be like if you lived fully aware of the impact of every choice? Not as a burden, but as an opportunity to shape your journey. For ultimately, karma is not something that happens to you. It is something you create at every moment with every decision. You have the power to transform not only your destiny, but also your relationship with the world. And within this understanding lies true freedom. If karma shapes our experiences, it operates within an even broader framework, that of reality itself. But what if this reality we perceive as solid and immutable were merely a construction? Tibetan masters teach that reality, as we understand it, is a projection of our mind, a veil woven by our thoughts, emotions, and attachments. Think of a situation where you misinterpreted an event, imagining an intention or outcome that turned out to be entirely different from what you believed. These moments remind us that our perception is rarely objective. It is filtered through our mental conditioning. For Tibetan masters, this biased perception is not the exception, but the rule. Life itself, they say, is like a dream, an illusion created by our mind. Imagine being in a movie theater, completely absorbed in a film. For 2 hours, you let yourself be swept away by the story, reacting emotionally to the characters, even forgetting that you are sitting in a dark room. Then the lights come on, and you realize that everything was just a projection on a screen. According to Tibetan masters, life is similar. We are caught in a mental projection, convinced that it is real. And when we die, it is as if the lights come on, revealing the true nature of existence. Ask yourself this question: if everything you believe to be true were an illusion, how would that change the way you live? What would you do differently if you could shape this reality? This is one of the central lessons of Tibetan teachings. We are the co-creators of our experience in this life and beyond. Tibetan masters also teach that reality is not a singular entity, but a set of layers. What we perceive as tangible is merely the surface. Behind it lie more subtle dimensions, where our thoughts and intentions have an even more direct impact. These layers become more evident in the bardos, when consciousness detaches from the physical body and explores deeper levels of existence. Have you ever experienced a moment when the world seemed different? An intense spiritual experience, a vivid dream, or a moment of profound introspection? These glimpses are reminders that the reality we perceive is not fixed, but fluid and malleable. They invite us to explore the deeper layers of our existence. To access these hidden truths, Tibetan masters emphasize the necessity of dissolving the ego, that internal voice that says, "I" and "me." The ego acts like a distorting lens, convincing us that we are separate from the rest of the universe. By letting go of this illusion, we can begin to experience reality as it truly is, interconnected, infinite, and full of possibilities. Practices like meditation and mindfulness allow us to embark on this process. Observing our thoughts and emotions without identifying with them helps us to go beyond the surface and see the hidden layers of reality. This requires patience and courage, but the rewards are immense: inner freedom and a deep understanding of our true nature. Ask yourself, what illusions do you still support? What stories do you tell about yourself or the world that may not be true? And if you could look beyond these narratives, what would you find? Tibetan masters remind us that understanding these illusions not only transforms our lives, but also prepares us for the bardos of death. When the mind projects visions, whether terrifying or sublime, we learn to recognize them for what they are: reflections, not realities. This clarity brings us closer to liberation. This understanding changes not only the way we live, but also the way we view death. Because when we realize that reality is a construct, we discover that we have the power to shape it. And this, the Tibetan masters say, is the very essence of freedom. If reality is a construct and our choices shape its contours, then the quality of our life and what awaits us after death depends on our ability to align our mind with the highest frequencies. The Tibetan masters taught that ultimate liberation lies in raising our vibration by cultivating states of love, compassion, and clarity. Imagine your mind as a musical instrument. When it is out of tune due to fear, anger, or attachment, it produces dissonant vibrations that disrupt your inner peace and the reality around you. In contrast, when you choose thoughts and actions nourished by love, gratitude, and serenity, your instrument begins to vibrate in harmony. This harmony not only transforms your experience of life, but also prepares your consciousness for the ultimate transition. Think of a time when you allowed negative emotions to dominate your actions. How did this affect your environment, your relationships, or even your self-perception? Now imagine the opposite, an act of kindness, a thought of gratitude, or a decision filled with wisdom. These moments resonate well beyond their immediate instant. According to the Tibetan masters, these vibrations influence not only your current life, but also your journey in the bardos. At the moment of death, they explained, your vibrational frequency determines the path your consciousness will take. It works like a radio station. Negative emotions and attachments anchor you in denser frequencies, while elevated thoughts connect you to subtler, liberating dimensions. These realms are not physical places, but states of consciousness. The good news is that you can start adjusting your frequency today. A simple yet powerful practice is to begin each day with a gratitude exercise. Take a moment to recognize what brings you joy or meaning. This instantly elevates your vibration and establishes a positive foundation for your daily actions. Another crucial practice is detachment. Identifying and letting go of what no longer serves you, whether it's material objects, relationships, or beliefs, allows your mind to vibrate at higher levels. Imagine a Tibetan master faced with a great loss. Rather than sinking into despair, he accepts the pain, recognizing that it is part of the impermanence of life. By doing so, he maintains a high frequency, transforming grief into an opportunity for growth. This same ability is within your reach. Every challenge you face is a chance to choose elevation over withdrawal. Ask yourself, what holds you back in lower vibrations? Is it a lingering fear, an old grudge, or an attachment to something that no longer belongs in your life? What would it be like to let all that go and feel your mind vibrate in peace and clarity? Tibetan masters also taught that these practices are not solely personal. When you elevate your vibration, you also impact those around you. An act of kindness or a positive thought has a domino effect, creating a harmony that extends far beyond your immediate perception. Finally, consider the impact this could have on your journey after death. When the moment of transition arrives, your frequency will act as a compass, guiding your consciousness toward higher realms of existence. By living with intention and elevation, you prepare yourself not only to navigate the bardos with clarity, but also to choose a path toward greater liberation. Ask yourself this question: what can I do right now to elevate my vibration? How can I align my life with states of love, gratitude, and compassion? These practices are not just tools for living fully. They are also the keys to transcending the limits of existence. True freedom begins here, in this precise moment. By consciously choosing to elevate your thoughts and actions, you prepare your mind to vibrate in a harmonious symphony with the universe, today and beyond. If elevating our vibration is a crucial key to achieving liberation, then learning to live without fear is the ultimate test of our spiritual path. For the Tibetan masters, fear is the greatest veil that obscures the true nature of our existence. It imprisons us, not only in the cycle of rebirths, but also in a limited life marked by attachment and illusion. Take a moment to reflect. How many of your decisions have been influenced by fear? The fear of losing, of failing, of being rejected, or of not meeting others' expectations. Fear acts as an invisible chain that keeps us in the known, preventing us from exploring, evolving, and discovering our full potential. Yet Tibetan masters teach us that fear is not something to avoid, but to confront. It is a portal, an opportunity to look more deeply within ourselves. Imagine yourself at a crucial crossroads in your life. You feel fear rising, your heart racing, and your mind searching for excuses to stay in your comfort zone. This moment, the Tibetans say, is a mini-death, a transition that reflects the ultimate challenges of the bardos. Each time you confront these moments and choose courage over fear, you train your mind for the greater transitions to come. Tibetan masters viewed fear as a demanding but deeply transformative teacher. During their meditations, they visualized their deepest fears, not to flee from them, but to understand them. They knew that fear is not an enemy, but a construction of the mind that loses its power when looked at clearly. This principle also applies in the bardos, where terrifying visions are merely reflections of our own emotions and thoughts. Recognizing them as illusions is essential to transcend them. Ask yourself this question: what is your greatest fear right now? What does it teach you? Often our fears reveal the areas where we need to grow, the attachments we need to let go of, and the illusions we must dispel. By facing these fears one by one, we not only demonstrate courage, but we also move toward freedom. Living without fear does not mean ignoring life's challenges or the risks it entails. It means facing them with the clarity of someone who understands that life, just like death, is transient. It means living with the confidence that no matter what happens, your deep essence remains intact. This confidence is not blind faith. It is the result of a conscious and continuous practice of inner exploration and detachment. Try this exercise. Sit quietly and bring to your mind a fear you are currently experiencing. Observe what happens in your body and mind. What does this fear truly represent for you? And what if you could let go of the story surrounding it? Visualize yourself moving through this fear as if walking through a fog that dissipates as you advance. In doing so, you are not only dissolving the power of this fear, but you are also reinforcing your ability to face the unknown. Tibetan masters remind us that living without fear means living fully present. Each moment becomes an opportunity to explore life in all its depth and complexity. By living this way, we prepare ourselves for death, not as an end, but as an extension of this same exploration. Imagine what your life would look like if fear did not limit you. What decisions would you make? What dreams would you pursue? The answers to these questions not only define your life experience, but they also shape your journey beyond. The challenge of living without fear is not simple, but it is profoundly transformative. For in letting go of fear, you also release attachment, resistance, and the limitations that hold you back. And in doing so, you discover that ultimate freedom is not something to be attained after death, but something that is cultivated here and now. Because ultimately, living with courage is the first step toward transcending everything that limits us. Thank you so much for watching this video to the end. Your attention and interest make all the difference. If you would like to continue exploring transformative teachings like this, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, and share it with someone who could benefit from these reflections. Your engagement helps spread knowledge and transform lives.